you know, as per custom, we start off with a drink of water. I'm nervous about this video. Into something that happened yesterday, and I wanted to think it through and process it and respond to it clearly about the Paladins community, specifically the Paladins community page, and I want to rope in another subject. So I don't know how long this video is going to be, and it's going to be very boring because it's going to be me showing off a bunch of numbers, which are normally what I do. But it's going to be more focused on the commentary than it is on the numbers. And I want to state that any names in this. I want this to be a message. I want this to be a reminder to people, because this is a small YouTube channel. If the people that I'm talking about are going to know who they are if they see this video. And this is in response to them. If they want to report me to YouTube and they want to report me to Paladins, they can go right ahead. I'm not afraid of these people. And I wanted to collect myself so it wasn't an angry rant type video. I've done those in the past, but it's not composed, and I need this to be composed. And one of the things that I want to mention is I talk about Paladins a lot as a fighting game rather than a shooter. And fighting game players know that it is better to buff a champion than to nerf a champion. And I have that mentality. If you've heard me talk, I will tell you that there are OP, there are broken characters, but there's not a champion that needs a nerf other than Koga. And this is a thing for me, is when I've been on the Paladins community, I oftentimes try and defend people that say this champion is weak and this champion needs a buff. Because, to be honest, until Koga was introduced, the time between when Furia was released and when Koga was released is probably the most balanced state that I have ever seen Paladins in. And I know that's going to come as a shock, but it's true. In my opinion, that is the most balanced we've seen it. And even now, if I were to drop Koga, every game that does not feature a Koga is a balanced game right now. Is a competitive game. There are a lot of games where I don't see Koga picked on either side, and you have 20 to 30 minute long games that go, 4-3 with overtime, with focus on capturing objectives, with pushing carts. And there's actual effort and dedication put into those types of games. I'll admit right now, I'm not a good sniper player. I don't play Strix, and I don't play Kinessa. The other low-level champion that I have is Eevee. I apologize, I do not speak that language in the comments. The other low level that I have is Eevee, where I can play as her, I just don't like that play style. And that's the same thing that I have with Strix and Kinessa. I have a playstyle that works for me, but I don't really play it because it's not the proper way. I don't play Strix as a sniper. I prefer his pistol. I prefer the pistol and unauthorized use, where I do say unauthorized use is a broken card, but it's not a broken card that needs fixing. See, this is the thing with nerfing something. You're nerfing something that's broken, but if you break, you have to run the risk that you break something further. Like, you don't repair a broken bone by breaking it further. You don't repair a broken vase by taking a hammer and grinding up all the little pieces into a... At the same time, you have to run the risk of over-buffing a champion. And this is something that we saw a bit with Khan, where Khan is a champion that people think is overpowered, when in fact he is balanced. And like I said, every champion in this game is balanced. And I'm going to go into details as to why in a moment. But Maeve is a shining example of what happens when you properly fix a character by both buffing and nerfing them. See, the old Street Justice card on Maeve was that it dealt 30% of your maximum health as 30% of a target's missing health as bonus damage. And that got nerfed down to 25%, and then it got changed in the last patch, the last the mid-season change. And I like the mid-season balance. Other than there being nothing done to Koga, they really did change characters that needed. For example, in my opinion, Grok got nerfed. He got buffed for a lot of other players, but he got nerfed for how I played him. His ult became harder to control, although they did fix that in the last patch. You know, the totem now being a ranged item. That hurt me because it made it harder for me to control where I put my totem. If I was just hurrying, I need to hurry up and get a heal out, and I wasn't paying attention. So it changed how I have to play. So it nerfed my play, but it buffed a lot of other people. I'm not answering that phone. I need to silence that. I need... Disadvantage. I had to nerf that phone call in order to buff my video. An example is... That's an example. Cassie is another one. They said they nerfed Impulse, when in fact they nerfed Just Breathe. And a lot of people that played Just Breathe said it wasn't that big because the damage was unreliable. But basically, I could consistently get between 850 and 1250 damage, and now it's capped at 850. And so that's a loss of 400 damage potentially. I'm not answering that phone. I will turn that phone off if I have to. But Impulse is a card that it lost 100 health and everybody freaked out about it. I'm trying to get my phone. This is very unprofessional and I'm not happy with this. I'm trying to get my phone. It will not shut up. It will not shut the fuck up. There. Anyways, back to the point. My nice old man phone. Old man phone. You can see it right here. But an example of those are examples of when they change a character properly. Cassie is more balanced now because she plays a bit closer range. Grok is a bit more balanced. He has more range on him. Maeve, I love how they changed Maeve. And I'm mentioning this because it all comes full circle in the end. Just bear with me for a few minutes. I have some points I want to make, and I have an order that I have it set up in. So look at how Street Justice works now. Before, what you did is, you remember your R2 or your primary fire throws 2 daggers that deal 400 damage each. So it deals a total of 800 damage if you hit them, which you hit both daggers pretty reliably. Your pounce deals 400 damage, but on Street Justice it didn't. On Street Justice, you dealt more than 400 damage unless you were hitting a target that was full health. If you were hitting a target that was full health, you dealt 400 damage. Any other time, you didn't. You always dealt more. And in my opinion, that was a problem because most Maeves use a dagger as they got into range, so they dealt more damage. And it made Maeve very inconsistent because she could repeatedly murder high-value targets like Tank. She could just destroy them. But she had difficulty with lower-level targets. If she couldn't hit if she couldn't hit a faster-moving character with a dagger, her pounce was useless. Whereas against a tank, she could always hit a dagger, so she always did more damage. Now she requires more skill, because now you are reliant on your team to do damage for you. Now you are reliant on you hitting your daggers to hit your pounce to get that effect. Drogos is another example. Drogos, I did this video earlier when I talked about Fuselage a little bit, but just to explain, when Fuselage was 50% more damage on a direct shot, it was overpowered because you only had to get lucky once to do major damage. It didn't require that much skill, you only had to get lucky. You could just wing it, and you could come out on top. And when it was at 35%, you know, I initially, when it came out, said 35%, reducing it from 35 to 25 was nothing. And, you know, as the game has gone on, I do see the benefit of that little nerf. They didn't nerf it a lot, but it also got outweighed when they buffed Reign of Terror. When they buffed Reign of Terror, it made Fuselage a less appealing choice. It balanced everything out. I said in my earlier video, all of the champions, all of his legendary cards have value. Why are there so many fucking distractions when I'm trying to do this? I'm trying to do a serious thing. Go on the floor. And one thing that I want to mention, and this is something that goes back to my point with the community, is I talk about nerfing Koga. The only champion that I want nerfed is Koga. And that is because Koga has no innovation. And that is in turn because of the community, in my opinion, now. Yesterday, in the community, I was looking, I saw some things. I saw some people shitting on Barrack, and I tried to step in and defend it. Rather than I propose a counter-argument to the argument that was posted. They proposed 4 points about why Barrack is a bad tank. And I proposed, in 2 posts, I did counterpoints to those as to why. And basically everybody shit on me. And when I defended my argument, my personal stuff got drawn in without me bringing anything in. And that just showed me the type of players that they are, that they would report me if I brought an off-meta champion in. Like I've said before, there's no such thing as a meta. Meta stands for most effective tactic available. If there was a most effective tactic available in this game, then everybody would run the same champions. And that is why I believe Koga does need a nerf, because Koga is the most effective champion available, under all circumstances, no matter what. Because basically, whatever champion, whatever team has Koga, Koga games come down to this. What champion, what team has the better Koga? 90% of games are won by what team has better Koga. If there's 2 Kogas on a game, it comes down to who the better Koga is. And in games where there's only 1 Koga, wins about, I would say about 70% of the time. Wins come down to what champion can counter Koga more effectively. If your team is able to get rid of the Koga, or not deal with the Koga, and just deal with the rest of the team, and let the Koga do what he wants, knowing that he's just going to do it anyways, that team normally wins, as opposed to the team that has to rely on the Koga. That's why I say Koga needs a nerf. And people tell me that champions need buffs. Now, in a fighting game, you know, a lot of times, people say it is better to buff than to nerf. And what I look at is, okay, so okay, let's take that mentality. If you don't want to nerf Koga, what do you have to do? You have to buff every single other champion in the game. There are 38 champions in this game. 37 if we remove Koga. You have to buff 37 characters and make them just as overpowered as Koga in order for him to be a viable champion that's balanced. And balance isn't a factor. Now, I may use balance I use balance sarcastically. When I talk about, oh yeah, Koga's a fair and balanced champion, it's because that's the response that I get. Koga, the game doesn't need to be balanced. But at the same time, it doesn't need to be so obscenely unbalanced. And this is the thing where one of the arguments that I didn't make, that I should have made about Barrack, I believe somebody else did trying to help defend me, was Barrack's not going to get a buff because he's picked so often in the PPL, which is the high form of play in this game. And everybody brushed over that comment because they thought they know better. Now, I don't look up people's numbers. I love how people looked up my numbers, okay? And people thought that I got jealous, that I'm jealous of other people, because people assume that I look up other people's numbers. I only look up other people's numbers if they ask me to, because I could care less about your numbers. I care about how you play, right? I'm Platinum too. If you look where it says 21 wins, 23 losses, because I don't play ranked anymore. I gave up. It's Season 2. When Season 1 ended, and the toxicity in ranked got to the point of where, basically, if I was not picking one of 10 champions that was called the meta, I got cussed out and my teams would quit and we would carry 4v5s. Plain and simple. Or, even if I did pick a champion, but I didn't play them how they wanted. For example, I would pick Genos and I didn't run Luminary. I get cussed out. I pick Tyra. you see that I am a higher level with Tyra than I am with Cassie by 14 levels. My math is off. 14 levels. I am better on Tyra than I am on Cassie. But because Tyra's not meta, I get cussed out and we carry a 4v5 and we win. And I was winning games that way. But eventually I got to a point where I didn't care if I won or lost anymore because of that problem. My win rate is trash. Now, I love people brought up my numbers. People brought up the fact that I'm Plat 2. I've been as low as Gold 5 and I've been as high as Master. What's your point? I have 500 hours on the game. No, I have 554, I believe. And that's another 120 hours in custom game if you want to be specific. I am of the Jack Ryan school of thought. Give him nowhere to go. I have a 39% win-loss rate. No, I have a 45% win-loss rate. Get your numbers right. People don't believe me, and this is something that I love right here. See, I have a laptop right here, and I have a laptop because when I'm playing, I normally have to do research on certain things, and I have certain algorithms for crunching numbers and things of that nature. Let's pull up Paladin's Guru, and let me pull up my profile. Now, I'm using Paladin's Guru, even though the numbers are not always correct. It is the most reliable, it's the most reliable source of data that I can have in a quick fix. It's very simple to do. And I want it to be mentioned right here. Notice I'm pulling the camera off, and I'm going to try and zoom in as close as I can. I'm trying to sight this. Okay, I can't flip it, unfortunately. Can I reverse it? No, because I'll just reverse this. But. So, here you go. That is 554 hours. That is a 45% win rate. And that is a KD of 1.08. Am I a bad player? No. I'm a level 268. And the problem that I get a lot of times is people, they tried to use my credits, my credentials to discredit me and say that I had no business talking about this. As if that has some... They didn't try and propose a counter-argument. They used a Donald Trump strategy. Don't attack the argument, attack the person. And that's where I got defensive, because they showed what type of a person they are, and it wasn't worth it at that point. And they want to talk about getting personal. I don't need to look those people up, because they already showed me what type of player. I don't care what your win rate is. I don't care what your rank is, because rank doesn't matter. Casual games are more balanced. Casual siege games are more balanced, because they're more unpredictable. See... Here's the thing when people bring up personal stuff. Here's what I didn't tell them. And I hope they watch this so that they know. I get paid money to teach classes on this game. I have people that come to me, not you, and ask for help on this game. I have people that pay me. This is a job. I get paid to play this game. My win rate is indicative of nothing. My rank is indicative of nothing. I have family that worked at high res. You want to talk to me about balance? That's my reaction. I have more credentials than a fucking grandmaster to talk about balance. Because grandmasters that sit there and play rank 24/7, that use the same tactic over and over again, don't think about innovation. They don't think about new players. And the problem with the Paladins community is high-level players shit on low-level players. If you're a level 500, you're going to shit on a level 300 who shits on a level 100. And a level 100 could have the same idea as a level 500, but because it's a lower level, they're not going to acknowledge it. And I want the community to look at itself. That new players keep the game fresh. If you look at old money and say, old money is all we need. We don't need new players. We don't need new innovation. We don't need money. In no short terms, I got told, we don't need new ideas. We don't need new opinions. We know what is right. That is why the community has gotten so toxic. Overwatch and Paladins get compared. Overwatch and Paladins don't get compared because they're the same game. Overwatch and Paladins get compared because of the community. And you can say you have this community This community problem is the same for any online competitive multiplayer game. To this degree, no. To the degree where the highest level people who think they know more than anybody else can shit on other players is amazing to me. That their way is the only right way. And if you disagree with them, you need to delete the game and leave the game forever. And the reason why I got so upset, and I'm upset about this, is because of the fact that people bring my credentials in without knowing what my credentials mean. My win-loss rate is shit because I don't spend a lot of time trying to win games. About roughly 30 to 40% of the games that I play are classes that I'm teaching someone, that I'm working. That number has dropped down to about 20 to 30% recently. I'm actively looking at playing on tournament teams, and that's something that I don't see these people doing. I don't see these level, 350s and these level 400s and these 450s and 500s. They're not playing in tournament. They're not playing in the PPL. They're not playing on Console Wars. They're not playing on any of those. Why do you think that is? I do. I play in tournaments. You have an answer to that? I have arguments to my own counters. For example, on Barrack. I said Barrack's gun... Someone said Barrack's gun is weak. I said it's not. There's 2 legendary cards that change how it works. I can propose my own counter argument. I know the flaws in my argument. Well, if his gun was actually strong... If his gun was stronger, then he wouldn't need 2 cards that change how the way it works. His shield is weak. You can build... And his shield is not defensive enough. I said, well, you can build it to be stronger in your loadout. If that was true, you wouldn't need the legendary card for it. His turrets are weak. They're not intended to be used for DPS. Well, true, but there's a card the card that increases its DPS, it only deals 20 more damage. So, his turrets are still weak. I can make my own counter arguments because I understand how the game works. The game is about balance. People shit on Skye and flanks in general, actually, and say that they're bad champions. People say Skye needs a rework. She doesn't. Her kit is perfectly fine. Her kit is perfectly fine. There's no need for a rework. And for people to bring in my credentials and use that as their argument to say, I can't talk about this because I'm a platinum. How dare you? A god complex got brought into this argument. And I sit there and I laugh because A, you've offended anybody that believes in a god or gods. Okay? You've offended everybody that's not an atheist by referring to yourself or whoever you're defending as a god. Because I told you that you might be wrong. I didn't say you were wrong. I told you you might be wrong. Because my thing is, when I see people shitting on a champion and I say, hey, the champion's not that bad, try this instead. Maybe you try it and you say, oh my god, I never thought that before. Or maybe you try it and say, no, he's wrong, he's shit. But it gets you to play the character. And it gets you to think that the character is better. And where I draw the line is, I've left the community and I'm done. I'm done with the community. There are great people that I've met there, and the majority of the people there are good. But the problem is, the biggest voices are the ones that are the bad apples. The ones that claim that they speak for Paladins as a whole, that they speak for the game, and defend it from people like me. I don't want to deal with those people. I left because it's not worth continuing the argument. I asked moderators to ban me, because I got told off of the community. That's what needed to happen in order for my egregious error to be corrected. As if my opinion was so wrong, as opposed to it being my opinion and you being your opinion. And that's where buffs and nerfs come in. Koga. Barrack. You know what counters Koga? Barrack. If Barrack is such a shit tank, why is he Koga's counter then? Means that Barrack is a balanced tank. That Barrack is overpowered, in fact, because Barrack counters the most broken character in the game. Fuck you. There's your argument. There's your counter argument right there. I rest my case. I don't need to prove my point because my point is my opinion. You don't need to prove your point. Your point is your opinion. You just need to see that when I present a point that counters your point, and your first reaction is to bring up my credentials as if that's some excuse, that all you've done is shown me what type of a player that you are. Because you're not willing to innovate. You're not willing to try a new build to see if a champion that you don't like playing. If somebody sends me a build and says, hey, try this, I'd be more than happy to try it. My skill with the champion is my problem on him. This is not Eevee where someone says, try this build and you might like her playstyle better. Because I can play her. Just, I don't like playing her. So, all it is maybe a build adjustment, or a playstyle adjustment. As opposed to someone like Strix or Kinessa, I know I can't play them. People say, oh, well, Moji's your champion, Moji's a noob tube, and Moji doesn't require skill. You're wrong. Moji requires more skill. If you know how to play Moji, if you truly know how to play Moji, to be ranked as high as 13th in the world like I was. I've been as high as 13th in the world on Moji, I've been as high as 40th on Onara, I've been as high as 50th in the world on Terminus, and I've been as high as 32nd in the world on Zin. Those are the only 4 champions I've made the leaderboard with, and I wasn't there very long because that's when I played ranked, and then I gave up on ranked because of the same toxicity in the community as in ranked, where I had a game that was literally a 5v3 because both of my tanks sat in spawn because I picked Tyra, and we had a Tyra, and we had a Damba, and we had a Maeve, and we 3v5'd the entire team because we all had enough skill on our champions and enough communication on our champions. I set up a party, I invited them, we won the game. And if those people, the Torvald and the Khan, know what I'm talking about. Again, we won that game without your help. We won it 4-3. It took 30 minutes. You had to sit and spawn and dance around and go la-di-da-di-da, you're wrong, as we won. And you should feel ashamed of yourself because you gave up in a situation that didn't require it. And you refused to innovate. You refused to play the hand you were dealt. You refused to play it. You folded the hand and you sat on the chips. And you benefited because of everyone else's work. And that's why I played ranked. Because I didn't feel like having to play a champion that I was comfortable with and carry other people who shit on me for carrying them because they refused to play the hand they were dealt. And I see that a lot. And for a community that is about sharing and helping, for a community that is about sharing builds, sharing ideas, grouping up and overcoming problems, like Last Man Standing trophy, Bounty Hunter trophy, you know, trying to rank up together and boost your rank, for trying to help each other, for there to be a few bad apples that just shut down and shit on people, it's not worth it. It's not worth it for me in a community like that. Because my efforts are not focused on my win rolls. My efforts are not focused on my KD. I play this game for fun. I play this game to make money. I play a free-to-play game to make money. How many people do you know say that? I play in tournaments to make money. You can say you're a grandmaster, and that you're a god, and that you're a beast in this game, and I don't know what I'm talking about. But at the end of the day, I make more money than you playing a video game. Do I get ad revenue from YouTube? No. Am I going to get ad revenue from YouTube for this video? No, because this is going to get disliked and downvoted, and people are going to cuss me out and comment, and they're going to get my channel banned, and whatever threats you want to throw my way. But you're not going to silence me. Because my opinion matters. We have a law. It's not a law, it's an amendment. And it's in the Constitution, which makes it a law. Let me be specific, if you want to argue semantics. It's the first one. And it says freedom of religion, freedom of assembly, and oh yeah, freedom of speech. I can call Donald Trump a fucking asshole for the half the shit he says, but I still have to respect his opinion on it. I may not agree with it, I may not support it, but I have to respect his opinion because it's his right to say that. Do I shit on it? Yeah. But he can shit on my opinion, and I have to stay and take it. But where I draw the line, and why I'm bringing Donald Trump, and you're actually making me defend Donald Trump in a video about Paladins, which I never thought I was going to do, is that I don't have to agree with him. I just have to respect his right to say it. Situations. There are situations where it crosses the line, and personally, a line was crossed for me when people thought they could make insinuations, when they thought they could call themselves gods, because I am a religious person, and think that wasn't going to offend me. That offended me more than anything that was said, and that's when I realized I'm not going to bother arguing. So I'm going to go to the masses, and I'm going to let them know why Koga needs a buff. Because it all comes full circle, because Barrack is such an overpowered champion that counters Koga, right? Koga has an ability called Master of Arms, where your shots don't consume ammo if you hit them. And you just hold down that button on a shield, on a deployable, on a person, on emoji and magic barrier, on a Khan in firing line, where he's damage immune. He cannot take any damage. And, you know, another one, an Ashe in her ult. Fernando in his ult, where they're immortal. They can't take damage. A Leon in her ult. They can't take damage. And he just sits there and shoots them. 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 And then he misses a shot. So what does he do? You have a build where you reload and you heal when you shadow step. So this is exactly what you do. You hold down R2. And then you start to run low on health or ammo. You release it. And you press L2. And then you hold R2. And then you release it. And you press L2. And then you hold R2! And now you don't even have to stop holding R2 because, ladies and gentlemen, this is the greatest innovation you'll ever see on Koga! You can hold R2 and press L2 at the same time, and you never have to release R2 when your L2 expires. Because of this, there is literally no reason to use your L1, to use your R1. And the only reason that you use your triangle is because and you need to kill something, because you're almost out of health and you need damage immunity because you have no energy. Koga does require a slight degree of skill. Adrenaline Junkie, in my opinion, is one of his highest skill cards because you don't have infinite ammo, but it's still overpowering and it's still not it's broken, beyond broken, because you can still run that same build and just reload. So your shots feed your energy, and your energy feeds your shots. And it's a never-ending cycle. And you have Blood Reaper, which is just useless. I think that card should be reworked a bit. And you have Dragon Fangs, which is a great card. You do more damage in Dragon Fangs. And it doesn't consume energy, you just lose health. And that requires a very high degree of skill, but here's why I say Koga needs a nerf. On every other champion in the game, you see people running multiple builds. You see people doing builds galore. Different builds, different champions. No one has a one right build that works in every situation. I have a build for every champion that works for me, no matter what. Pretty much except Kanessa. I could even run Strix if I want, but pretty much everybody except Kanessa, I have a build that works for me, and you're not going to talk me out of it. Because I've played with it and it works for me. And you know, there are other builds that I run that work. You know, an example, I've been playing a bunch of Leon recently. You know, I have my go-to build right here that works all the time, and then I have these other builds that are more specialized that I pop out as needed. That, you know, you can talk me out of those builds, but you're not gonna talk me out of my one super-duper build on every champion. And on Koga, what do you see? Well, there's 3 types of builds on Koga. Your claw builds, which you only see claw players use, and if you notice, there are 3 cards in here that are in every build that I have on Koga, because I need those cards no matter what, because there's only one way to play Koga. And there's an agility build that I don't even run, because I don't use agility. Because I have no motivation to use agility. And then there's this build. Tenacious, Harsh Training, Surprise. And then you see Tenacious, Harsh Training, Surprise. And then you see Tenacious, Harsh Training, Surprise. And then you see Harsh Training, Tenacious, Surprise. And every build. No matter what. You see them. And the levels are almost all the same. Harsh Training 5, Tenacious 5, Surprise 3. And then Harsh Training 5, Surprise 3, and Tenacious 1. And then you see Harsh Training 5, Tenacious 1, Surprise 3. And then you see Harsh Training 5, Tenacious 1, Surprise 3. And there's no innovation. And this is something that I said this before, but I feel it needs reiterating, is that I have, in this whole argument, if the next great Paladins player were to see that toxicity and say, I don't want to be a part of a community like this, they could be the Grandmaster that changes the game, that promotes this game into a bona fide esport, and it takes Overwatch, and it picks Overwatch out, and it throws it off the Empire State Building, strapped with a bomb, and it blows up in midair before it hits anything, except maybe a couple of pigeons if you don't like pigeons. If you do like pigeons, they're pigeons, sorry. No PETA. No, don't come after me, PETA. I already have enough people coming after me. But, just as an FYI, you know, you check it off, and the game is done because Paladins is so... One person was able to promote the game and revolutionize how the game was promoted. And they see that toxicity and say, I don't want to be a part of a community like this. I don't want to play this game. I'm gonna go play Warframe. I'm gonna go play Call of Duty because Call of Duty has a less toxic community. Which is a sad day, in my opinion. And basically, I get told we don't need new players. And you have to realize that new players bring new money. And for a free-to-play game that revolves around a live service, nonetheless, that revolves around a constant stream of revenue coming in to sustain itself, because it's a live service, an active thing that you keep putting money into if you want it to succeed. That's what a live service is. That's why game companies are going towards that model, because you put money, you throw money at it in order to keep it, in order to keep playing it, in order to have new things in it. And if you don't have new players bring new ideas, and new players bring new opinions, and new players bring new playstyles, and new players bring new balancing. And if you don't need that, that's fine. I'm a relatively new player. I have family that's at this company. I make money off of this company. I am guaranteed to be on this game every single day. I have not missed a day on this game. Period. Since I started. And for someone to disrespect me in such a way when I was nothing but respectful requires this video. Requires me to call you out. Now, I'm not the type of player you are. My screen is exactly the same on my computer. My name's on it. Not yours. Because I don't care about your numbers. Your numbers don't matter to me. My numbers don't matter to me. But if you want to bring my credentials in, I got 2 words for you. Fuck you, and get them right. I didn't mean to say 2 words, even though I did. You can fault me for that. That's my bad. I meant to say 2 things. There's 2 things I say to you, not 2 words. That's my bad. But I'm not the type of person to call you out. See, what I do when I want to call somebody out is I report you. I report you to high res. I don't try and bring your credentials in. I bring your gameplay in. My grok is better than yours. My barrack is better than yours. Because I play them. Because I play them in a way that works for me. I don't care if I win or lose some games so long as I have fun or I make money. Because my losses, like support is a class that I have a very low win-loss in, even though I have a lot of games on it, and that's not because I'm a bad support. That's because I have a problem where if I'm teaching a class like a tank, I need to keep that tank alive. So I am going to feed that tank heals exclusively, and I'm going to kind of ignore the rest of the team. I'm being a bad Paladins player, but I'm making money off the game and they're not. So, you know, that's going to take precedence over me. You having a good time is not my priority. My having a good time is my priority. Is that a bad thing to say? Yes. Does Koga ruin my enjoyment of the game? Yes. I can't play Strix and Kinessa, but I will defend them to the grave. Even though I don't have fun playing them. Because they're not an obscenely broken champion. They are a fair and balanced champion. This is not a fair and balanced champion. This is a fucking street rat. And it says so in his bio. A nameless street rat. This is a nameless street rat. This is the definition of everything that is wrong with this game and the toxicity of this community. And you can sit there and say, well, your win-loss on Koga is shit. My win-loss on Koga is shit because I have to hold one fucking button. I don't play champions that I have to hold one button on. I play champions that I have to hold 2 buttons on. Because that's an extra finger and that's more skill. Vivian and Mochi are noob tubes. You hold down 2 buttons.
Koga.
Koga holds 1. That's buffs and nerfs. Do I think every champion in the game should be buffed? No. I could see buffing every champion. For example, on Torvald, I would change Direct Current. Instead of Nullify dealing more damage, I would change it to what they did with Buck, where it lasts a minimum requirement. It lasts for 2.5 seconds. It's guaranteed. Just like on Ensnare, it's guaranteed to last 2 seconds. You cannot affect that with crowd control. You are gonna be slowed and take bonus damage for 2 seconds. I could see that. Or I could see it where Nullify siphons health or shielding when you activate it. That would give him more sustain as a tank. So you wouldn't be picking Thanks Grandpa or alternating current all the time. I could see buffing Field Study, where Field Study is an example for, maybe it reduces the cooldown. Because it only lasts for 3 seconds. That 30% damage bonus, and you really have to capitalize on it. So maybe, you would reduce the cooldown on that as a bonus. You know, maybe instead of that, champions on Field Study, they, while they are shielded, not only do they gain 30% damage, but they get healed. You know, that makes that card more viable. I could give you a buff for every champion. That's not my job, apparently. And the game will get balanced the more champions are added. Because that's the thing, I don't like MOBAs. I don't like, I have Smite, I don't like it. But the community is fair and balanced outside of competitive. Trying to help each other and help new players. And that's my last point. As a high-level player, it is your responsibility to help newer players if you want the game to succeed. You could have 700, 800, 900, 1,000 hours on this game. But if you don't think that new players and new ideas and new opinions and new approaches are needed, and that your way is the right way and the only way, and you go, la 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 la, I don't have to listen to you, which is the argument that I made, then you are not helping the game succeed. And I know you're not going to see it. Those who live in glass houses don't fear rocks until they get hit by one. It's one of the greatest lines I've ever heard, And it resonates so deeply now after all this. And why am I making a big deal out of this? Because if you want to know why I stopped playing ranked outside of for fun with friends or as if someone pays me to do it. Because this is every game of ranked. And it's starting to spread over to casual, and I want to stop that. I'm playing Dead by Daylight. You can't talk to other people in Dead by Daylight unless you're on a party. Unless you have friends on a headset talking to them. So there's no toxicity. I have yet to receive a message in Dead by Daylight telling me I did a shit job, we would have won that game if you had done this instead of this. I can't go one day without getting that here. I can't go one day without playing a healer. I don't do callouts. But let me do a call, so I'm not showing names. Look at my healer, okay? Saris. Need healing! Need healing! We lost that game. I died 12 times. There was nothing I could do. I got targeted. This game right here, I got top healer. I didn't have a flank. My tank and my damage were on Mike, but my flank, I don't know where the fuck they were all game. No one spammed need healing. But, you know, this game right here, the Saris one, the next Saris one, the 3 and 11. Need healing! Need healing! I chose Mortal Reach instead of Void Abides, and everyone spammed need healing. I got top healer. We won the game. We won the game because I had to tell the flank to buy kill to heal. Because I had run a 2-second cooldown on Saris, and it lasts for 3 seconds. Which means it's 5 seconds between me healing one person and me healing a second person. You can heal yourself in that time. You get an elimination. Ying, need healing! Fury, need healing! And need healing is something that comes with a support. Which is why I don't have any problems. And you see my win-losses right here. And you see no ranked. Because these games are unpredictable. And this is how you improve on challenges. This is how you get better. For example, Maldamba is the best healer in the game. Because of his healing potential. That's a matter of opinion. You could state Furia because she offers relatively the same thing that Maldamba does. But my thing is this. He has such a high skill requirement to play. You jump right into a ranked game with Maldamba. Oh yeah! Everybody's so excited! We got a Maldamba! We're gonna win this! And he can't do anything because he's never played the champion before. And he sucks at the champion. And you spam need healing. It's not his fault. You told him to run it. Versus running Grok. Versus running Pip. Versus running Ying. Because he may be better with them. But you don't like it. So you say no. You know, I've met a lot of the people that are on my friends list. Play champions completely different from me. Specifically Grover. I may be the only person on my friends list that runs Efflorescence on Grover. No, not him. I may be the only person that runs that card. And it works for me. And on other Grovers that run Ferocity and Deep Roots and Rampant Blooming. Because the way that they work is effective. Because I let them play that way. I don't toss the game because they picked Ferocity as the only support. I don't toss a game because a Ying picked Resonance over Life Exchange or Lifelike. I might on Focusing Lens because I get too many people on Ying that play Focusing Lens and they don't heal and they don't do damage and it's a waste of time. So that is where I personally, I do the same thing. I'm not a hypocrite. I will admit I do the same thing. I'm telling you, I do what I'm telling people they shouldn't do. I am a hypocrite. Even though I just said I wasn't a hypocrite a few moments ago. That makes me a hypocrite there. But I'm also balancing it out by saying that I'm not this perfect, innocent wallflower. I don't purport myself to be. I'm a hypocrite, but I'm not a hypocrite. Because I don't do it every single waking moment I'm on this game. Because at the end of the day, this is a game. For me, it's more than a game. For me, it's a job. And if I do poorly at this, I'm losing money. And if I'm doing poorly because I may put out the numbers, but I have a teammate that doesn't, you know what? I look at it and say, did they try? Do or do not. You can only try. And I'm paraphrasing that for a reason. I'm not actually ripping it off. I'm paraphrasing it. Because it's true. You don't have to be good at this game. You just have to try. You don't have to try hard. You don't have to try low. You just have to try. And the problem with Koga is you don't even have to try. You hold one button. And this is what I love is when people bring an auto aim on Koga, where all they have to do is hold one button and they automatically hit every target and never have to reload. I don't think Hi-Rez really intended for that. I brought up an earlier point with MOBAs, where most MOBAs have a shit ton of champions, because the game balances itself the more champions there are. The game becomes harder to balance, and that makes it easier to balance, because you don't have to get the balance perfect. You just have to get it playable. And right now, that champion runs the show. So, like I said, if you are someone, I didn't say anybody's name. I showed my name, and my name only. Because I don't care about anybody else's numbers. I don't care about anybody else's performance. I don't care about anybody else's name. The fact that you took an argument and made it personal, and basically disrespected the entire Paladins community that may or may not have that may have disagreed with you but didn't say anything because they were being respectful. Good job. I hope you realize that I talked to a lot of people that left that community that day. And it's not going to impact the community as a whole. It's not. But if you ever wonder why you're not on a tournament team, if you ever wonder why you don't make money off of this game, and a sniveling little Plat 2 39% win rate with 500 hours is better in you, now you know. Put your cart before the horse if you want to pull the cart yourself. I'm done. Koga needs a nerf. No one else does. Deal with it.